And welcome back to Meeting of the Minds. We're back with our mental and emotional health series. Today, I'm here with a great wrestler. We go back a long way, Kyle Ferris. Kyle, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Gene.
Absolutely. All right, so let's jump right into it. Let's talk about your story. Talk about your wrestling career and then college, just how everything went down, and your mindset and everything where you're at today.
Okay. Well, let me start off. I wrestled at Somerville High School. I grew up in a family of wrestlers, and the town of Somerville, obviously, we had a great midget program. A lot of great coaches. Middle school program was solid. So naturally, everything I've absorbed in my life has been wrestling or wrestling oriented. So big wrestling background. At Somerville High School, I was a 3-time county champ, 2-time district champ, 3-time region finalist, 3-time state qualifier. Went ahead, career took me into college, where I wrestled at East Stroudsburg University. Place that I had went to for wrestling camp for a long time. Started going there for wrestling camp. I think 4th grade was the first time I went there for wrestling camp, and just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the university. Just the location. How close it was to where I grew up and everything. It seemed like a very good fit, even at a young age. I loved the coach that was up there. Coach Borzio. I don't know if you remember him or not, but big guy, looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's how I'll always remember. The first time I saw him, he was this larger than life guy. So at a young age, I kind of knew that's where I wanted to go to school. That's where I wanted to wrestle. It was Division I, loved everything about it. So, I graduated high school in 2004. You would have been what? You were 03 or 02?
I was 02.
02. Okay. Yeah. I think we were what, on Team New Jersey, I think once or twice together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, glory days. I have the jacket in my closet. Hey,
me too.
Did you get the Stroudsburg t-shirt?
I still have some ESU gear, believe it or not. I was lucky enough to maintain some of the old gear.
Remember the t-shirt from the intensive camp?
Oh yes, I do. I wish I still had all of my t-shirts that went back. I have a trunk. I have a cedar trunk filled with nothing but wrestling t-shirts. If you know anybody I can donate them to, let me know. They're just sitting in a cedar chest. I'm sure there's tons of kids that maybe could get some use out of them. A lot more than I'm doing with them. So, but back to it, 2004, I graduated high school, went up to East Stroudsburg University. And right away, dude, I was loving what college life was about, as far as, being a college athlete. Okay. The wrestling, just the workout routine, starting early in the morning, preseason workouts, you're up at 4:30 to be on the football field, which was always the funniest thing. You're on the football field at 5 a.m., to do sprints up the bleachers and stuff, or do buddy carries around the track. So, started out there 2005, 04, 05 was my freshman year up there. And right away, like I said, I was loving it. Things were going good for me. Wrestling was my main focus. I wish I could say, that was my only focus, but, wrestling, that was my major focus. At the end of my freshman year of college, I had, I'd ended up in a relationship, sort of dating, sort of not dating, a certain somebody. And, it was something that didn't quite work out, but it did. So we were kind of off over the summertime. We did whatever, kind of lived each other's lives. At the start of my sophomore year, which I was extremely excited for, waiting for big things with wrestling, it's coming in, wrestling 141. Very excited for it. The start of the sophomore year, we reconnected. And we, started going out, officially. We had an official relationship. Prior to us going out over the summertime, she had lost her mother. Her mother had been terminally ill with cancer. And, it was a very tough thing for her to have to go through at such a young age. I was 20 at the time. She was, 2 years older than I was. So, it was a very, very tough thing for her to have to go through at a young age. I can't even imagine having lost a parent at that young of an age. She had, unfortunately, to, I guess, kind of deal with things. She acquired all of her mother's leftover pain prescriptions. Naturally, being around her, being around them, I kind of, found myself giving into the temptation of, prescription medications, opiates, stuff you're not supposed to be using, unless you're injured, unless you have an actual reason from a doctor to use them, right? So through the course of my sophomore year, I found myself not going to class all the time. I found my academics really suffering. I was constantly spending time with her, which isn't a bad thing, but I found myself spending all of my time with her. If it wasn't wrestling, or if it wasn't, if it wasn't wrestling, or yeah, if it wasn't wrestling or an extracurricular activity, let's say, my time was always with her. So as that year progressed, as that sophomore year progressed, I found out that I had become ineligible for wrestling, which for me was, shot in the heart, because here's this thing that I worked so hard my entire life. I mean, I know you can attest to that, when you're all in on wrestling, you're all, your whole life. I mean, you're all in, you live, breathe, eat everything wrestling, your whole life is devoted to it. It's truly a way of life. We have a very, very unique sport. I think any wrestler will tell you we're a different breed, different mindset, as you obviously know, completely different mindset. So to have lost that, it was very tough. Growing up, dude, I was very straight edge, man. I didn't drink in high school. I didn't party. I didn't do anything. I was very, I had very strong morals, as far as knowing that I need to stay on the straight and narrow to, to accomplish my goals. Well, unfortunately,
And
sometimes
you had the flashiest socks in the state when you
yeah,
wrestled.
yeah. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Blue monkey sock. Yep. Yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I had to throw that in. Go ahead.
Yeah. But, it was, it was very tough losing that. So, as the end of that sophomore year progressed, I found myself, kind of falling into this deep depression, so to say. I just wasn't myself. I know my roommates recognized it sort of from the fact that, like, well, they were never seeing me. Here's these guys that I wrestled with, and they'd spend all this time with me in the wrestling room. And then outside of it, I was kind of constantly sleeping over my girlfriend's house. I was, I was infatuated with her and certain aspects of the relationship. We had a very toxic relationship with, which definitely impacted, my life and her life. Wasn't a healthy relationship by any means, but, we were both hurting at that point. We were both, definitely in tough spots. So as that, like I said, as that year was coming to a close, finding out that now for that upcoming year, I'm ineligible, I can't wrestle, and now it's all kind of, as those days were coming to a close, man, I mean, it was really like weighing on me heavy. Like, I'm going to have to tell my parents, I'm gonna have to tell my friends, my roommates, like, yeah, my coach knew, but it was also, we had an outgoing coach of Angelo Borzio, and then we had an incoming coach of Coach Kutz from Lehigh. So here's this guy that was coming over. I got to work out with them once or twice, and I was so excited for this because here's this new coach, a lightweight kind of guy, a scrappier style. He's coming from Lehigh and everything. It was kind of a big deal to get that to happen. So I was really excited about that. But then at that same time, it's like, yeah, no, you're not going to get to experience this. I had no clue what was going to happen. So it was all kind of really coming to a head that summer. That summer, we were off and on fighting all the time, but still, there were certain aspects of the relationship that were keeping us both in it. Stuff I wish I had more strength to overcome, but unfortunately, sometimes there's things that will get the best of you. And I can attest to that fully, and very quickly, things can spiral out of control. You think you can be in control, and no, no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, these things can overpower you, and take control. Come back into school after that summer, September 3rd, 2006. It was a Sunday night. Girlfriend and I had officially broken up. That was it. Had a huge blow up fight. And, in a complete irrational moment, complete moment of weakness and like I said, feeling lost and just not knowing what to do, I went ahead and took a bottle of Tylenol. And you may think, oh, Tylenol. Well, what's that going to do? Well, when you take a very large bottle of Tylenol and consume the entire bottle, it very quickly will affect your body, will affect your kidneys. I left my apartment after consuming that bottle, went down, sat in my car. I had the intentions of, leaving and just driving until I passed out. It was very late, so, there weren't really going to be any cars on the road. Once again, that's that irrational thinking, not thinking about anybody else, but my pain at the time, wasn't thinking about all the pain, what could possibly happen, what was going to happen from my actions, thinking about my pain. In a moment of weakness, it was very selfish in that moment. And I hate to use that for this particular instance, but when I look back at it now, it was a very selfish thing I was doing. I wasn't going to do anything for myself but cause pain for many, many other people. But I went ahead. I did what I did. I sat in my car, passed out, unfortunately. Or I shouldn't say, unfortunately, but I passed out, right? The girlfriend, who's now the ex-girlfriend, found me in my car unconscious, had broken the window, pulled me out of the car, called an ambulance, police ambulance show up. Prior to that happening, she had, I'm sure just a moment of complete panic, felt that she needed to try and help me, get the Tylenol out of my system. So she had stuck her fingers down my throat to help get me to bring up the Tylenol, help make me vomit it up. In doing so, I had aspirated vomit into my lungs, which later would be a very big, very big part in me becoming seriously ill. Ambulance had came, they picked me up, they brought me to the nearest hospital, which was 2 minutes away, Pocono Medical Center, right next to East Stroudsburg University. In getting there, right away, they pumped my stomach. They had to induce me into a coma because of the toxic level of Tylenol that I ingested into my system. In about 48 to 72 hours, all of my vitals had greatly diminished, had dropped. All of my organs were were starting to fail, all because what had happened was when I aspirated the vomit into the lungs, that later became a pneumonia. So in a few days, that became what was called an aspirated pneumonia. Hospital was never aware that that had happened, that was in my lungs, that vomit was in my lungs. Like I said, 72 hours, I went from 155-pound Division I wrestler, healthiest you can imagine, to full multi-organ failure in a few weeks' time. Say a week's time, maybe. Liver, kidneys completely shut down. They were putting me on, intubated me. I was on a ventilator. I had been induced into a coma. So now here it is, a week and a half, 2 weeks go by. When my liver and kidneys had shut down, my body started retaining all of its fluid. I went from 155 pounds, Gene, up to 240 pounds. I think any wrestling coach would be extremely pissed having a wrestler be that much overweight. That's a big jump. I've never seen that number before. Even my brother was a little jealous I got that heavy. But I blew up to 240 pounds. At that point, everything had shut down. I was being put on dialysis to help circulate, my blood. I was on dialysis 3 days a week. I had ended up having what was called a compartment surgery, which was they opened me up from my pelvis to my sternum and had to leave me wide open for a few weeks to allow me just to kind of drain and kind of allow my organs to allow them to not swell, but to, allow the pressure, the relief of the pressure. Because as you can imagine, I wasn't a big guy. So going up to 240 pounds, that was, it was quite a bit of stress for my body. All the while this is happening, I'm on a ventilator. It's nothing more than that ventilator inflating my lungs, deflating my lungs, keeping me alive at this point. I'm barely hanging on. September 21st or 22nd, because my condition was so grave, they went ahead and they had to life flight me from Pocono Medical Center to Hershey Medical Center. They needed to get me into a bigger trauma unit. When they got me there, they immediately had to do emergency surgery on my stomach because I had infections setting in, and there was just, some missteps at the hospital with how the procedure was done. The emergency surgery was very successful and everything. They stabilized me, and I started making some progress. I was able to come out of the coma. A few weeks later, it was, I want to say the second week, it was like October 13th or 14th, somewhere in there. I was actually getting ready to be discharged. I made really good progress. I had a tracheotomy at the time. They were able to close that, take it out. I was going to get transferred to JFK rehab facility. Great news. Day I'm supposed to be transferred, the transfer unit was late coming to get me. At that time, my nurse came in to give me the last of my meds, at which point I was double dosed on potassium, which sent me into multiple grand mal seizures, at which point I flatlined multiple times. And I was once again now back into a coma, retrached again, bedside. They had to do it. And then for about 2 weeks, I was listed as brain dead. I had next to no brain activity whatsoever. I couldn't get any stimulus going, anything like that. And they were very heavily trying to, convince my parents to go ahead and take me off life support, that, there really wasn't any hope at this point for me, that they should just let nature take its course. Kind of a hard pill to swallow for any parent. And New Jersey wrestling mothers are not people to mess with. I don't care who you are. That's probably the worst mother, you can try and, tell what to do. So, thankfully my mother, my father too, but my mother was was my angel, my guardian angel in that hospital, not allowing anybody to give up on me. So unfortunately, after that, things did get better down the line, but I ended up having to have partial amputations done to my hands and feet. I had lost circulation to them while I was in the coma. So I had the front half of each foot amputated. And then the fingers on my right hand, all pretty much taken almost all the way to the hand itself. I lost. Still have functionality with it, can still write with it, when you're putting in tough situations. Sometimes, we like to adapt and find a way to, get through them, get over them. Put a hurdle in front of me, I'll get over it somehow, climb it, whatever, I'll get over it. So, it was a tough thing when I finally got out of the hospital. I was in a physical rehab facility for a few months, but, ended up getting out of it. The whole time it was tough learning bits and pieces of what had happened and trying to make sense of everything that I did that night. But, it wasn't anything it wasn't anything that I wasn't going to be able to, in my mind, I wasn't going to be able to get over. I very quickly was able to look at it and just be like, wow, what did you do? And right away, as a wrestler, right? And this, you wrestle somebody, you have it taped, right? Let's say you win, you lose, right? Whatever, maybe, you win, wasn't the best win you ever had, or you lose. This is a guy who's in your weight class, so you're going to see him again. What do? You go back and you study the tape. Well, I didn't have a tape to study, but I certainly had, I had thoughts about what I had done. And it was very easy for me to look very closely and very quickly at what my actions had caused, to happen. It was a lot of strain on my family, as you can imagine. My parents, my brothers, on 3 separate occasions were planning my funeral. Right down to the point where they were, deciding who were going to be the pallbearers, who was going to be where. They contacted the funeral home. It was, dude, it was really bad. It wasn't, there's no easy way to say it. There's no light way to talk about it. It was, dude, I was really, really close to being gone. There was a rumor I shouldn't say a rumor, but it was announced at a Friday night football game at Somerville High School that, I had passed away. So you had people at a football game that were, in tears and stuff like that, thinking that I had passed away because it was, my condition was so grim. It's just like, oh yeah, he's gone, So what my family had to go through, it's like, I know what I went through physically through it, right? I can remember my thoughts in the hospital and stuff, but what my family had to go through, man, I can't even imagine it. I can't imagine it. And that's why it's like, I say I had pain that I was experiencing at that time, right? I had a lot of mental and emotional pain I was going through. As I said in the beginning, I lost, I lost wrestling, which meant so much to me, even though, and it's like, I can look back at it now and I know, okay, yeah, you were ineligible, but that's a hole you can get yourself out of. That's not, oh, you're permanently ineligible. That's just, okay, you're ineligible for the upcoming season. Wasn't thinking rationally about it. I was just so upset to have lost it. Then you mix in the fact that there was, some drug use, and Gene, I want you to know, it's like, it wasn't drug use where it was every day. I wasn't Tony Montana sitting at a desk with a mountain of things in front of me. It was, very, I don't want to say seldom, right? But it was like, all right, maybe this weekend I did it, or, the following weekend, or, so it wasn't everyday use. But unfortunately with the opiates, man, it doesn't take a lot. They're chemically engineered to alter, basically everything about your brain chemistry. They make you numb to so many aspects. And then when you actually start to experience feelings, they're so intensified, so it's like what normally wouldn't be a big deal to you all of a sudden becomes a big deal. What is a small problem, what is a molehill to get over, becomes a mountain when you're on opiates, dude. I just had it, so as I said before, I had the amputations, right? Over the years, I've recovered very, very well. I was able to get around for a long time. I was able to walk. My doctors, who initially didn't think I would be able to walk again because I had such weight loss. I went from 155 to 240 through all the comas, all the atrophy and everything. I got down as low as 90 pounds. I mean, I was looked like a skeleton. Okay. It took me quite a while to physically really recover to a point where I was getting around and, I was able to drive again and everything like that. But, I, day by day was, allowing myself to get better and better. I wasn't super critical of my progress. There were definitely points in time where maybe I was a little tough on myself, but I was realistic with my, with what I expected, what I thought I could do. As I went on over the years now, it definitely, things definitely started wearing on me as far as pain. My feet, I experienced a lot of pain with my feet. They were not meant to be walked on in the shape that they were in. Okay. Not left with many options. I basically have just looked at what's going on around me, what's available, what's available for people who are in worse off situations than even I was in. And 2 weeks ago now, I went ahead and I had double below knee amputations. Okay. So this is something that I had to go through now, which it's more painful right now. I'm still recovering, but I'm definitely at far exceeded where, even my doctor thought I would be in recovery right now. But to give myself a better life, a more pain-free life, I've decided that, obviously and with doctors, obviously a lot of doctors input, this was the best choice for me. There's a lot of prosthetics available for people with, double knee, below knee amputations. So, even now I'm still feeling the effects from this. I was always going to feel it, but, even now I've still had to overcome what I did, all those years ago now. The biggest things that I can take from it, and I just wish if I could go back for a moment in time and just grab myself and tell me, something, it would just be to ask for help, man. It's so simple, it seems so hard. And for me, I know why I wasn't asking for help, and it's just, dude, I'm just a stubborn person. I always have been. I'm Irish and Italian. I don't think you can get more stubborn, than that. Probably one of the things that kept me alive. My body and my mind were just too stubborn to quit. But I just wish, because like the night that this happened, that night my roommates weren't around. I got up to school earlier than everybody, so I didn't really have anybody even that night that I could just sit and talk with, to try and defuse the situation, to try and rein me back in, from this, far out thinking that I was I was experiencing at that time. I never was depressed. I was never experienced any sort of mental, I don't want to say a mental breakdown, but that's almost what it was, dude, at that moment. I never experienced anything like that before. I wish so much that night I could have just grabbed myself and been like, dude, go talk to, go talk to Leaf, go talk to Jordan, go talk to Surfer Joe, go talk to any one of your friends or roommates, because that little thing right there, just asking, for one of them to, to help me would have made a difference that night, if any one of them could have just been like, dude, you know how much this is going to hurt us? You know how much this is going to hurt your mom or dad? That right there would have shocked my system probably, hearing that. Because at that moment, like I said, I wasn't thinking about anything else other than my pain, when, ending my temporary pain was causing lifelong pain for everybody around me. Your family's always there for you. And to do something like that to them, man, it's, that's really, that's it. Like, that's the one thing you just have to try and sear into people's, minds, is what you're going to do is not helping anybody. You're only hurting people. You're not even helping yourself. Because look what happened with me. It's like, I'm always going to remember this mistake. I will never ever forget it. I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about life through this. I'm married. I have the most amazing wife in the world, and I probably never would have met her if I didn't go through all of this. So part of me is just like, you know what? Even if I had to go through it again, for her alone, bro, I'd go through it again. I mean, most amazing person I've ever met. Stronger than I am. I've been told, oh, dude, you're so strong. Nah, listen, there's tons of people I've met. There's still people I meet where they've overcome bigger hurdles than I have. It's just life, man. You got to take it one day at a time, one hurdle, one problem at a time. We're all going to experience, tough times, and you just have to have the strength to ask for help. Because it's hard to ask for help sometimes. It really is.
Absolutely. What should the friends and the family be looking for? That if the person isn't asking for help, what are maybe signs that we could do? Because we all like to be more aware, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people probably say, I'd love to help. I just didn't know.
Yeah. I would definitely say, closing off of relationships, like when you just start to see less and less of people, or your interactions with them become very short, or uh, irritable, like all the time. Like I can tell you that, man. Like, I was very irritable with like my family when I would see my parents and stuff like that. My dad, dude, he took me to every tournament that I wanted to on the weekends. We had a very strong relationship, and I was definitely, the time before this happened, those months leading up, I was definitely not myself towards him. I that's one thing that I can think back to, like some certain times, and it's just, the way I was acting towards him was completely out of the ordinary. Now, do I think any one of those people recognized it? No, because I had never had any history of stuff like this before. So I think now, talking about it more and letting people know, like, look, these are just some of the signs that something may be going on, because it's not something that, there's younger people nowadays trying to commit suicide or committing suicide at younger ages. When you're seeing adolescent children committing suicide, when you have high school kids committing suicide, I don't remember, I don't know if you remember, Gene, ever hearing about this stuff happening, as frequently as it happens now. So there's definitely got to be, we definitely have to kind of stand back and look at it, that, all right, well, maybe things that we wouldn't consider have been a telltale sign of it, or, he seems a little, off. I think we have to be able now to recognize that some of these things where, yeah, he's just irritable, or, oh, he's just an a-hole, something like that, oh, that's just his person. No, sometimes that's not just a person's personality or something. Sometimes they're just going through tough things. I know, growing up, man, I mean, I used to talk to anybody and everybody. Like, I remember watching my parents, like, they could bump into somebody in the supermarket who they don't know and strike up a conversation with them, and walk away from a conversation with a smile. I think nowadays, especially with the with the pandemic going on and everything, and lockdowns and everything like that, obviously we're not being able to interact, and that's really tough on people's mental states, because one of our ways of releasing stress and tension and stuff like that is just through conversation, just through interacting with people. I talk about how my mom or dad could bump into somebody, right? And I never used to hear the word stranger, right? I don't know that this was something I was thinking about. I never used to hear the word stranger. It was just like, oh, it's just somebody I don't know. And now people use the word stranger, and there's almost that that stronger meaning of stranger, where like, oh, they could be a bad person, you know? Like, yeah, I get there's a lot of bad people out there, but if if you're struggling to ask for help, if you're struggling, right, mentally with something, you have to talk to somebody, right? Some people, they don't want to talk to a doctor. I get it. Okay. Talk to a stranger. And I'm not even joking. Talk to an older person who has more experience in life. Like, I've always looked at it, and the way I was raised was kind of like, you always respected older people. You always respect your elders. Why? Well, because they have a whole lot more life experience than you do. They've probably done things that you may never experience in life, or, that they've raised a family, or that, well, sometimes if you just sit down and ask a person for help, they're going to give it to you. There's still a lot of people out there who could sit and talk with you and maybe give you input, or explain something from a different point of view that you've never thought of it. I truly think there's simple things that we could do to better, like, the mental state of just our communities and stuff like that. I don't think there has to be all these, I don't think you need a whole bunch of drugs and and stuff like that. I think it can be done just via, like, really just with more interaction and you know kinder conversations between people, you know especially for younger kids, man. They're dealing with stress and stuff like that we never had to experience, so
Right.
if you give them simple solutions, I think that's the best thing right now, to at least to lower the level a little bit. I think levels are going up on these rates. Let's try and bring them down, or at least slow the rates.
That's
I
it.
don't know.
And I know your story is going to be helping a lot of other people. I have no doubt there's a big reason why you're still here, why God kept you here, and
Yes,
you
sir.
got a lot of work. I think it's only begun for you. I think you're going to touch a lot of lives, and this video being a good a start, or a piece of the puzzle to help get the word out there, and how important it is to ask for help, how important it is to talk to people. Really
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. No, it's I'm still here for a reason, Gene, and if I can help one person, help one family avoid going through what my family had to go through, it's all worth it. I've talked with everybody in my family, and they say, dude, go for it. That's I just want to help anybody that needs it. This is I made my mistake, so let me help somebody avoid the same mistake.
That's it. And I know you will. There's no doubt in my mind. Thank you very much, Kyle, for being so open about everything. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, Gene. It means a lot to me, dude.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
You too, bud.
Bye.